And we're coming back at you. Yes, we are still broadcasting live from NADA 2026 here in beautiful Las Vegas. And we're broadcasting from the dealer eProcess booth 3901W. You can find us in the West Hall, of course. And look, I have talked to a lot of people already, but this guy right here, I have been really looking forward to talking with him. You might not know his face. You might even not know his name, but you know what he does. This is Patrick Manzi. He is the chief economist at NADA. And when he shows up, data is sure to follow. He's the one who makes all the incredible predictions about what might happen in the automotive industry in a coming year. So I am so excited. I read all of your stuff. I know that sounds crazy. I'm fangirling right now. I love your market beat reports. I love your end of year reports. I also read the mid-year reports. If you don't know, go to nada.org. Check out his reports.
Appreciate the plug. That's great. Yeah, nada.org for all of our stuff.
Oh my gosh. I just love what you do. And mainly because I am terrible at understanding data. Mm-hmm. And I need you to interpret the data for me so I understand what's happening.
Sure.
Okay. So how much data do you actually see?
A lot. I mean, all kinds of stuff. That's the job. The job is reading everything and, absorbing some of it.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure that people know that when you talk about, hey, how much data do we, it's not just data within the automotive industry. You also look at macroeconomic stuff like that's happening on the other side of the world sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. So can you give us an idea of what kinds of things are out there outside of automotive that affect automotive?
Absolutely. So we are going to have a very strong tax return season this year. That's, with the passage of the one big beautiful bill.
Okay.
The OBBB, I think, is the abbreviation.
Okay.
But that is going to create much higher tax refunds for consumers. And so, to me, I hear used car season or tax return season in the used car market is going to be good.
Okay.
It might even spill over into the new car market as well. So that is a really big positive thing that's going to happen in the next couple months. We're also going to see another push to overall economic growth from that bill, just from, all the extra cash it's going to free up to help CapEx among a lot of firms. So that's a good thing. And other things I'm thinking about, we're going to probably see a few more rate cuts, at least from the Fed. Probably only two this year.
They didn't give us the rate cut last time around.
No, there are other things going on. We don't have to get into those.
Okay.
But there are other things going on that may have influenced that. But my forecast is for 2 short-term rate cuts. And when shorter-term rates come down, that can help with money factors and leasing. So that could present an opportunity for some of these OEMs to get back into leasing a little more aggressively. It's really fallen off since the chip shortage limited sales.
Okay.
We were 30% leasing for a long time leading up to the pandemic. Chip shortage hits and we fall, I think at the bottom we hit 15%. So it's cut in half, right? And that's a really good way for people to get into a new car and save a little bit on that monthly payment because, I think the evergreen word is affordability in this industry, and it seems more pronounced this year. People are dealing with rising prices.
Car insurance has skyrocketed.
Car insurance, they're 55% since COVID.
And the price of new cars and used cars, how much has that gone up in recent years?
I mean, I think from 20 to 21 and then 21 to 22, average transaction price grew about $4,000 each year. So there was a big step movement in pricing. That growth rate has slowed down a lot, right?
Okay.
But we're still at $48,000 average transaction price.
That was because of the inventory crunch that those prices went up?
Prices went up. You have a supply shortage and then prices go up. So supply's down, prices up.
But now the supply is back. So are the prices going to go down?
Probably not. I mean, inflation has crept into everything, right? You have seen prices rising. You mentioned auto insurance, but motor vehicle maintenance and repair is up almost 50% too since the pandemic. And that is because we are seeing higher prices for auto parts, vehicle service. The auto parts thing, a good part of that is tariffs, right? So you're paying the tariffs on these imported parts, and then that gets passed on to the end customer. So you feel like you have this world where the customer's, it's not just, can I afford the payment? Can I afford the insurance? Can I afford to fix it?
Right.
And then you have health insurance rising, your food costs going up, all those other things. So that is why I think affordability is even more important this year. And I think one of the things that I would like to see from the OEMs, if there are any watching, is, just a little bit more choice at the bottom end of the market, in that $30,000 range.
Yes, all the cars. It seems like they forgot that there are consumers out there who really don't want to spend over $35,000 and make a cheaper, more affordable one, stripped down, maybe, not all the bells and whistles, before you get to the $50,000-$60,000
That's right.
level,
That's right. And part of the price creep has been people, there's a term I've heard, trimflation. You want more features. And then it's also just, you people like these bigger cars and they cost a little bit more. And that's like consumer preference. And the OEMs are going to act like capitalist businesses and charge, the most that people are willing to pay. So it all ties in. There's a lot of reasons for rising prices. But the big takeaway is, if we had some more affordable options at the bottom, I think it would do a lot for the industry and a lot for the American consumer.
Very interesting. Now, in your reports, you study all kinds of things. You study, the how the staff is, how many dealerships there are in the United States at any given point. You also, I love your stuff about segments within the market. So I do want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But first, before we even get to that, what the heck's happening with EVs? Do people like them, or do they not like them?
So I'll start with one stat.
Okay.
3 out of 4 people who have an EV go out and buy a new car. So they're getting rid of an EV to buy a new car. They stick with EV. So 3 out of 4 people.
Okay.
That is confirmed from registration data.
Is that a good number?
I think so.
Okay.
It's much more people than, leaving them. They're not. It's not like 25%.
Okay.
75% seems pretty good. Of course, you want to see that higher if you want to accelerate adoption. But what happened with EVs? Tax credits ended. We saw sales spike in September. We had a BEV market share in September, almost 12%, just under 12%, highest ever. Next month, it fell to 5.5%. So it was a big fall off.
Okay.
That's temporary. I think overall for the year was around 8% market share. And so that's probably where we're going to be in the first half of this year. And it starts to pick back up because even though there have been a lot of regulatory changes that mean OEMs don't have to build as many EVs,
right,
there's still some in the pipeline,
Sure.
And, you worked in the industry for a while like myself, and you know that you can't undo it once it's a year or two out. Like those decisions have been made, contracts have been signed.
Investments have already been done.
Right. So those cars are going to come out. There are still going to be a lot of new EVs, primarily targeted in those popular crossover segments, coming out over the next few years. So we'll see how that happens. Right now, I remember if we didn't get rid of a lot of these regulations, we would have had to sell 35% BEV by 2030. So now, that's a big jump.
Sorry, I didn't see that happening.
No, everybody was wondering when something would change, and it changed last year.
Right.
But I'm at 12%. So that would be essentially doubling BEV sales if we stayed the same. Well, it'd be like, we're at 8% now, call it.
Yeah.
So going to 12%, it's about going from 1.2 million to maybe 1.8 million if the total market is about, 16 million where we are today.
Okay.
So,
but look, you and I have been talking a while because like I said, I'm a fan. I remember when you would come on and you're like, hey, EV sales, they're at 1.5% of the total market. And I was like, wait, what? They are? Like, I never thought it would catch on.
If you go back, that was when all the hype was around EVs. You had OEMs coming saying, we're going all in on EV.
All electric. Yeah. I knew it was a problem when they said, we're going to make muscle cars electric. I'm like, come on, stop.
Yeah.
You can't make a muscle car electric.
Yeah. The performance is great, but I don't know if you've heard the fake sound. It's not that great. Anyways. I want the rumble. Right. But so BEV was starting to look like hockey stick adoption, where you see the share go up like this.
Yeah.
Kind of went like this and then flatline. What's doing this right now is hybrid. Hybrid is through the roof. Sales were up 27% year over year.
Now let's talk about that because hybrids aren't more or less expensive, right?
They are comparable to ICE these days. It would probably be, I think there's a roughly $9,500 difference in average transaction price between BEV and ICE. So hybrid is probably closer to ICE, but in the middle there, right?
Okay,
if we were to
my point is that because of range anxiety? Like people feel more comfortable in a hybrid than an EV?
What I think, conventional hybrid, you don't have to change how you've operated your car, right? You just go to the gas station, you fill it up like an ice car. You don't have to think about it. And it used to be, you think the early days of the Prius, I remember my friend had the first one topped out at 70. That was
70 what?
miles an hour.
Stop it.
He was like, I'm in it, guys. I'm floored. And we're not going more than 70. Yeah, it was. But nowadays, they have as much, if not more power and torque. They get 50% better fuel economy than the ICE, and it's not that much more money. Generally, it's, a couple $1,000s. And that is a strong value proposition to the customer, right? They make sense of that. I don't have to change anything about how I operate, live my life. I just get better fuel economy and equal or, not better performance.
Okay, but then explain it to me. Why EVs?
I mean, EVs are quiet. They're smooth. Like, I live in a metro area where there's tons of charging infrastructure. So if you live in a place like that, it's pretty easy. We have free charging at work. A lot of places are like, a lot of places in the DC area are like that. So it might work for your life. If I was honest with myself and purely drove cars based on, total cost of ownership,
okay,
I have a 3-mile commute to work and a 3-mile commute home.
Okay.
I should be in like a fully depreciated Nissan Leaf that has 50 miles of range. Because that's all I need. I go to work, pick my kid up on the way home, and that's it. That's all I'm doing. So, there are people for whom they make sense in their lives. You live in California where the weather's great. They just make sense in certain markets. Now, you go to my home state of West Virginia, where you can drive, an hour sometimes between, little stops or even a gas station, and makes less sense there, right?
Okay.
The infrastructure's not there.
So you think dealers should still worry about how to sell EVs, or you think that adoption is going to stay nice and around 8%?
I think that the OEs are going to produce the right amount for demand now, and they're not going to jam them down people's necks.
Okay.
Because they don't have to make them to hit their own targets, right? That was why they were getting jammed on the dealers, was if the OEs don't hit this target, they're the ones who pay the fines. It's not the dealers. It's the OEs. So that's, I think it'll be more right-sized. And what I've generally been saying is the rollback in the regulations we saw last year free up OEMs to build cars more for current demand, right? You're not getting it forced on you.
Fabulous. I like the sound of that. Let's talk about other segments.
Yeah.
What's the hottest segment right now? Trucks are still good. SUVs, crossovers. What do you got?
Crossovers, 49% of the market. It's huge.
Crossovers are 49% of the market.
It's massive. It's big.
Oh my.
Very big. We're at 83% light truck, which is crossover, SUV, van, and pickup. So 83%. If you go back maybe 10, 11 years, we were 50-50. So car, truck. So, that's a big shift. It's a very big shift.
And I don't even know if you know this. Average MPG for a crossover that...
I don't know that.
No, you don't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. So so you expect that to keep going?
I kind of think we're close to the sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
Because, you drive around here, all the cabs are cars. They're the Camrys now these days, right? And they make sense for that. They make sense if you, smaller cars, if you live in the city like I do, or near a city where parking is tough.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be a market for that. It's just not as big as it used to be. So I don't see it going away completely, which, so that's why I think we're close to somewhat of a steady state in terms of mix, at least, light truck versus car.
All right. Can we talk a little bit about used versus new versus, I don't know, CPO?
So used market. Last year, we hit the bottom of the trough for late model off lease, right? So if you go back to 22, we only sold 13.9 million cars.
Okay.
And remember, I told you, leasing fell to 15% during that time. So we not only did we make fewer cars, we leased even fewer than we normally would have. And so we started to feel that.
But I don't think it made sense to lease at that time because the prices were so
exactly.
high, right?
Well, there were no incentives from the OEs to do leasing. They were prioritizing just retail sales. And so they didn't have to lease the car. They could sell it outright. So that's what they did. But what that meant is now, 3 years later, there are a lot fewer cars coming back, right? And we are through that now. We're through the bottom of it. So it's going to start to pick back up because remember, after 22, sales increased and we started to normalize a bit in 23 and 24. And so we're going to have more off lease in 26 than we did last year. And
Okay.
also towards the end of the year, what you're going to start to see is the mix. In the mix that's coming back, there's going to be a lot more BEV, right? Battery electric, because that was the very popular way to buy them to get the credit.
Okay.
You could get the full credit.
So you think they're going to be like, nope, don't want the BEV anymore?
Well, I think, yeah, they're going to return it because valuations on those, they depreciate a lot more than comparable powertrains. But what that means is in the next 26, 27, a lot of these BEVs are going to come back. Generally, they're pretty high content cars. And, let's say you're a very price conscious customer.
Everyone's a price conscious customer.
But I mean, you're like, I cannot go over 400 a month. Like, That's it. That's my max. I cannot do it. And they're like, okay, we have a nice 10-year-old Corolla with 100,000 miles that probably has power locks, something not high content. Or you can have this 3-year-old BEV that is newer, has more features. So I'm interested to see if that is a way to entice customers into that market.
Okay.
Get it at a discount. You try it out. You're not going to be the one.
Get it off the lot.
Yeah, you're not going to be the one as the customer to eat all the depreciation. Some of these things, 50% depreciation 1 year. That is a lot of money.
That's a lot of money to lose.
That's a lot. Ooh. So that is why they were so popular with leasing. At one point, within the past year or two, leasing was as high as 75% for BEV. So people understand, I need to protect myself from from getting burned on a bad residual.
Oh man. Okay. One of the things that I love to ask you, because like I said, I love the data. I don't know how to read the data, but since you're my chief data dude, is there anything you saw in recent data that shocked the heck out of you? Like you weren't expecting it, and here it is. I'm curious.
I'll say, my forecast as we started 25 was 16.2 million, which we hit.
We did.
But tariffs were imposed, and I cut my forecast. I was expecting, significant hits to sales. I think they cut it by up to 1 million units initially. When that was April, when on Liberation Day, you remember the chart?
Yes, I do remember. The chart.
Yeah. And, at that point, there had been no bilateral deals negotiated, and it was 25% on everything.
Yes.
So
I do remember
that was a lot of price. That's a lot to absorb.
So you were like, no, we're not. Yeah,
we're going to see it hit sales. But you know what happened? We got some bilateral deals negotiated. Tariffs didn't end up being as bad as we thought. And the American consumer powered through, and we still got to 16.2 despite it. So this year I'm not betting against the American consumer. Okay. I'm not.
That is fair. That's fair. Now, do you already have your prediction for the end of 2020?
Yeah, I'm forecasting 16 million units.
Okay.
So it'd be a couple hundred. We did have, if you remember, before tariffs went into effect, they were announced, and then you had I think they didn't go into effect till the end of April. But in March, people were like, I better go to the lots, and I better buy my car now. It pulled ahead a lot of volume. We, in fact, in March 25, it was the highest SAR since April 21, which is everybody's vaccinated. Everybody has money. If you remember that time, I need to spend this money today. And we saw almost an 18 million unit SAR back then. Now we had that pull ahead volume. Then we had the pull ahead volume at the end of the tax credits. And so that's not going to be there incrementally in 26. That's part of the reason why my forecast is just a little down a little bit.
All right, you don't have to explain it to me.
Gotcha.
And Patrick, I trust. As a matter of fact, I trust him so much, I asked him to do an upcoming webinar with me. And just like last year, right after NADA, we talked about the state of the automotive industry. And Patrick is going to be joining me on March 12th. March 12th, so write it down, March 12th, 1 p.m. Eastern, to talk about market trends, market shifts, and your predictions for the coming year. And listen, literally, what else are you doing on that day that is more important than this? Please come and see the webinar. It is free. We are here for you. Patrick Manzi on March 12th. You can go to dealereprocess.com/webinars to sign up for that free webinar. I'm so excited you're doing that. I love when you come, because like I said, I'm a fan.
Well, I'll bring the charts and numbers to back these claims up that I'm making.
Do all the numbers. I love it. All right. Anything else? Oh, last thing. I've been asking all of my presenters, what do you, Patrick Manzi, what would you say to dealers out there, What's the one thing that they should focus on or do or concentrate their energy on so that they have a more successful 2026? What's your advice?
So I've alluded to those people kind of at the entry point of the market, feeling the squeeze, higher prices and everything. Have enough vehicles for those people.
Have enough inventory.
Have enough inventory.
In that, what price range?
And is that like, around 20 to 30.
Okay.
And it's like, if you represent a brand that doesn't have that, is there a couple brands that don't have
a couple?
Yeah, that don't have those cars anymore, right? I would say bust out that COVID playbook, get really creative with how you source your inventory, try to keep a lot of them on hand. And I think you'll be very successful with that,
Wise words from a wise man. That's all I got to say about that. All right. Thank you, Patrick Manzi. Always a pleasure. I can't wait to talk to you again on March 12th. For right now, we're going to bid you farewell. We are going to be coming up to our next presenter. It is Editor-in-Chief over at Babcock's Media, Susan Gibbons. So you're not going to want to miss that. We got to know what she's talking about all over the auto industry and what she feels are going to be the hot topics for this year, 2026. For right now, we're going to say farewell. Broadcasting to you live from NADA 2026 here in beautiful Las Vegas and booth 3901W. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you in just a few more minutes. Take care. Time to wave, Patrick.